Watch the.
I'm gonna watch this video, in good faith. It's Vaush, uh, a guy I no longer like. I stopped liking Vaush like 2 years ago or something. Um, but yeah, I watched him for years. Don't really like him. Not a fan. He's well, this video is him reacting to. It's called. Well, you can see the title. Um, but yeah, Vaush is basically a fake communist. He calls himself a socialist, but he doesn't really ever call himself a communist. And he rejects Marxism and he rejects planned economics, but he also advocates for decommodification, but he doesn't believe in planned economics. And he hates on Lenin and Stalin and the Soviet Union entirely, pretty much. And he's against any real like socialist movement that's ever existed. And he like he's basically like a vague combination between a so-called libertarian socialist and like he's like a combination between like a utopian socialist, a libertarian socialist, a democratic socialist, an anarchist, and a Marxist all at the same time, and it just makes no fucking sense. Like he supports decommodification, but then he is anti planned economics and anti Marxism, but then he promotes Marx, but then he says to not read theory and that theory doesn't matter, but then he says it's fine to read theory, but then he says instead of reading theory, you should go work at a soup kitchen. And he promotes voting for Biden and fucking Bernie Sanders and etc. So yeah, I'm going into this video with a lot of skepticism. I don't know that much about Mamdani, but the fact that he only calls himself a socialist and not a communist, and he doesn't really seem to associate with communists, and he's also like a mainstream politician and the mayor of New York City, so like I'm pretty skeptical about him being a fucking like about the idea of him being a Marxist because that's just kind of weird. I don't see any I haven't seen any evidence of him being a real socialist. I think in this video he says he advocates for like class consciousness and like seizure of the means of production, but I don't know. I'll just watch this in good faith.
This older clip of Mamdani. Mamdani.
About this entire project
I've seen
is
this.
not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And
Fucking
obviously,
loud.
raising class consciousness is a critical part of that.
So yeah, he says class consciousness, which is pretty cool, and that's like specifically like a Marxist term, or at least like general socialist term or whatever. So that's good. And then he also called Trump a fascist, which is good. But yeah, I'll have to see more just to see if I can really trust this guy, because it's kind of just weird. There is also the fact that he smiles constantly, which is kind of off-putting. And I heard someone say that his mother or somebody was like involved in like filmmaking or something, and that they're saying that he may have gotten like acting training. I really don't fucking know. People say a similar thing about Vaush. I don't know. I'm just mentioning that.
But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism.
One of this issue with this though is that like he's focused on electing socialists, but like they're not really advocating for socialism and they're not building a socialist movement. Like if you have a socialist who just acts like a liberal and most of their supporters are liberals, and you're not talking about socialism, then you're not having a socialist movement. Like you can't fucking do communism by having a bunch of mayors elected. Like that's not how that works. You need the entire government to be communist. Like you would need a revolution. You can't, like, it doesn't matter. Like electing socialists isn't really the point. The point is building a movement so that the movement seizes power. But I'll see what Maury has to say.
There are also other issues that we firmly...
I have already seen so many socialists doing this shit, where they're like already getting ready for Mamdani to be a huge sellout, and they're just preparing for it. I like, there was some discourse.
That's what I thought, but I don't know. Like, so far what Mamdani has said is okay, but it's just kind of not... Like, if I were to accept that he was a socialist, what he said is kind of bad for a socialist, but him using the term class consciousness is interesting. But the issue with the big issue with this is that AOC, in a video, AOC promoted the idea of seizing the means of production, but the issue is it's AOC. And Bernie Sanders himself even said that he did not want to seize the means of production when asked if he's similar to the Soviet Union or whatever. So like we have AOC saying that she wants to seize the means of production, and then Bernie says no, and neither of them call themselves communists or have anything to do with communism. And they call themselves democratic socialists, and Mamdani does as well. So it's just kind of weird. Like, these people think that, like, Mamdani is, like, some secret communist. Like, if someone's a communist, they should just say they're a communist. That's what all communists do. Like, no one keeps it as a secret because there's no fucking reason to. Like, they'll say, oh, well, they can't get elected if they promote communism. Okay, well, then they're not a communist. What do you mean? Like, elect communists so in order to do communism, even though they're not advocating for communism? Like, how the fuck, what? How are you even supposed to know if someone's a communist then? Like, okay, if that's the case, like, how are you supposed to know who's a communist and why? Like, what? Like, they're not focused on building a movement. They're just, or like having a party. They're just fucking like talking about specific, like, one politician and calling them a communist only because they called themselves a democratic socialist. That's the only evidence that I've seen of Mamdani being a socialist, is he calls himself a democratic socialist, which isn't even like a proper form of socialism. That's like outdated stuff. That's not like real, like pure Marxism.
And like, why is he doing entryism to the Democratic Party when he ran as a mayor in the Democratic Party? Like, people are so primed to be negative.
It's because if there's ambiguity about someone being a communist, it means they're not a fucking communist. That's what that means. Did Lenin ever have any ambiguity as to him being a communist? No. Lenin had to fucking deal with his writings potentially getting fucking banned. His own brother got fucking executed for trying to assassinate the Tsar, I think. And Lenin was having to fight against fucking monarchy. And he was still writing, like, extreme, like, Marxist theory and shit and building a movement and fucking engaging in revolution. Like, it's not fucking ambiguous at all what Lenin believed. It's just not. You go and read Lenin, it's fucking immediate that he's a communist, and any communist would be like that. But with Mamdani, it's just like, oh, democratic socialism. What? Like, but he's not even like. Bernie called himself a democratic socialist, but he's just a social democrat. Like, they're not even using the right term, so I assume it's on purpose. Like, you can't be a socialist and reject the term communism and also reject Marxism. That's just not how this works.
Why is he in space? That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't know how he's surviving out there.
There's also the fact that, like, this is I heard that this is like an old clip. I don't know how old. Probably not that old because he looks about the same age. But like, there was stuff in the past where Bernie worked with Michael Parenti, who was an actual communist. And then Parenti distanced himself from Bernie because of Bernie's foreign policy or whatever, and Bernie's like pro-war stuff. Yeah.
Even whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production.
Did he say VDS? What is that? Vaush derangement syndrome? What is it? Oh, I can't even remember. Wait, what is it?
Whether it's BDS.
BDS, I don't know what that is. Am I like stupid or something?
Right, or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production.
That's cool, I guess, but AOC also said that. And she's AOC.
Where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that in the way that we organize, in the way that we set up our work and our priorities, that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem. Because it is critical for us to both meet people where they're at and to also organize for what is correct and for what is right, and to ensure that over time we can bring people.
Having near clinical depression is a prerequisite for being a leftist. It's not actually the depression, at least not in a lot of their cases. Remember how yesterday I was talking about how basically
we can kind of just dismiss whatever Vaush says because the fucking guy rejects planned economics but calls himself a communist and says he wants to decommodify things. Like, how do you decommodify things without a planned economy? How do you have a communist society without a planned economy? The whole fucking point of communism is a planned economy. And then he supports perpetually supporting liberals because if you elect the liberal, his argument is that if you elect liberals, it'll make liberals look bad so that they vote for communists. So his argument is that his argument is that communists should vote for liberals in order so that people notice that liberals are bad and vote for communists. So he's saying to not vote for communists or like support the communist movement because it'll cause people to support the communist movement. So don't support communism because if you don't, people will become communists somehow. Like, what the fuck?
everyone watching my streams could do more and they choose not to. And you have to accept that fact if you want to be honest with yourself. Like, it's like the people who bullshit themselves and they're like, I have not had the time to get in shape. Yes, you have. You literally.
I am planning on actually doing stuff. There's just like one or two things that I have to do that's like kind of more important, but within like a few months or something, I'll get more involved in this stuff.
I guarantee you have. Every single person watching.
Also, I'm 23.
Okay? The reason you haven't gotten in shape is because you've been lazy. That's it. But that's fine. Like, because everyone makes those everyone makes those trade-offs in their life. Just don't fucking lie to yourself and don't lie to me, you know? But there are a lot of leftists who do, to be clear, literally nothing.
Like Vaush, he fucking sits there and makes hundreds of thousands of dollars taking would-be communists and fucking funneling them into the Democratic Party, a fucking imperialist shit fucking party that invaded Iraq. Like, this dude supports a fucking party that invaded Iraq and lied about it. Are you shitting me? This dude supports the party that is so fucking bad, it makes Republicans relevant. Like, the Democratic Party is so fucking bad that their nemesis are Republicans. Really?
If they're all puffed up in the head, they do literally nothing to make the world better. And the only way they can cope with that cognitive disconnect.
Okay, doing nothing. I've actually thought about this earlier when I was thinking of Vaush. Vaush is actually worse than doing nothing. Because at least if you're doing nothing, you're not manipulating people and like preventing people from moving forward through to real socialist principles. Vaush just keeps people away from that shit. Look at his goddamn YouTube channel. This isn't even his YouTube channel. These are clips, which would actually be even better than what his normal channel would be. So his videos is just like Republican bullshit and like Democratic fucking bullshit and like it's just like random nonsense. A lot of this isn't even like political stuff. But yeah, if you go on his, I don't want to show his normal channel, but if you go on his channel, okay, there it is. His channel is just Republican Trump, Republican Trump, Republican Trump, Epstein MAGA, Republican Trump, Democrats, Democrats, Republican Trump, election, Democrat, Trump, Trump, and this and Trump that. Why would a communist talk about Trump this fucking much?
Even though they think of themselves as the best lefties, is by pretending that all possible avenues of changing the world are actually like cucked and cope and fake and not real.
No, the way that I haven't gotten involved yet, I'm going to. Well, I'm also just learning. Like, I can't fucking just go do shit without learning enough. I have to learn a little bit more. Whereas Vaush and such, they don't have to learn because they already have liberals that they can rely on, and like mainstream like liberal movements and shit, and it doesn't really matter what they do because they're not trying to build communism. Therefore, like, it doesn't, like, they can just do whatever because it doesn't fucking matter.
So by deluding yourself into believing that everyone who's trying is wasting their time, you don't feel bad that you're
trying what? This dude is talking about a guy being a socialist because he just said in the past that he wanted to seize the means of production in like an offhand comment, even though fucking AOC said that. And then Bernie said that he didn't want to do that. It's like, what the fuck? AOC already said this. Do you think AOC is a communist?
not wasting your time.
People to
Like, it makes sense to fucking assume that this guy would just be a liberal because Vaush himself is a fucking liberal. Vaush has explicitly like promoted Marx vaguely, and he's fucking advocated for seizing the means of production, and he's advocated for fucking decommodification, and he's advocated for revolution. Does that mean he's a communist? No, he's fucking not. Because he rejects communist principles such as planned economics. Like he'll endorse something, like he'll endorse a concept, or he'll like promote a concept in socialism, but he won't actually go through it. Or he won't actually go through with it. He'll just like, it's like his belief system is just a fucking mishmash of liberalism with utopian socialism with democratic socialism and fucking revolutionary Marxism and stuff. It's just a fucking mishmash of random bullshit. He's effectively a glorified liberal that pretends to be a Marxist while constantly complaining about Trump all goddamn day. What does complaining about Trump constantly have to do with like advancing the communist cause? Like, my fucking YouTube channel has like 3 political videos on it, and I come off as a communist more than Vaush does, and Vaush is way more educated than I am, and yet he still fucking comes off as like some like vague like radical liberal.
that issue. The ramifications of victory here is the difference between life and death for so many of our brothers, sisters, and family beyond the binary across this borough of Queens.
I was about to say, what about non-binary people? But he actually fucking got my ass with that one. Jesus Christ, Mamdani. You animal.
That's kind of funny.
It's the difference between having cash bail anymore and not. It's the difference between having sex work be decriminalized and not. And with every battle that we fight as socialists, we need to remember what the stakes are and ground ourselves in them and why those stakes are important and critical to us as individuals.
Yeah. But is he gay? If not, I can't support him. But wait, pride is over?
I thought that was going to be better than it actually was.
I always feel prideful. I never stop. He's not a Republican, so he's probably not a closeted gay man. That's true. Yeah, we don't have that fallback.
Yeah.
I don't think Muslims are allowed to be gay. Yeah, but like neither are Christians, and there's tons of gay Christians, and I don't know if Jews are or aren't, probably not, but there are anyway. Doesn't really matter. Religion's not real. Nobody really believes in it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How serious do you think the threat of deportation is against Mamdani? I don't know. I don't really know. Anything could happen. There are a lot of claims that Trump has merely engaged in puffery on, and then there are things that we didn't think possible that have happened shockingly. I don't know. We're going to live in fear for a while, I'm afraid. During the Queers for Liberation March, mayoral candidate.
Hopefully he talks about the subject more. Or is this just like an upload that like has multiple things he talks about?
You're religiously Jewish. That just means you're like, well, no, I mean, I've always wanted to, speaking of a completely different country, I've always wanted, no, that's Egypt. Oh, okay.
Okay, he's kind of just talking about like half this video isn't even relevant. What would be another video? Like that was it? The dude said something that AOC said and all of a sudden he's a fucking Marxist? He doesn't even call himself a Marxist. Alright, I'm gonna watch this video. It's from 3 years ago. A lot of fucking idiots are gonna be like, well, that's from 3 years ago. That doesn't matter. Like my this video, they said like, oh, that's from a long time ago. Yeah, bro, it's been like 5 years since that footage. Like he believes like the same shit. You really think I'm not familiar with what he believes? Let's see what I don't remember really anything that he said in this.
Because freedom is something.
But yeah, this is from. Well, actually, I think this is longer than 3 years ago, because he has that ear thing.
Consider yourself a Marxist?
This might be much longer than 3 years, or a decent bit longer than 3 years. Well, it doesn't fucking matter. He doesn't call himself a Marxist today, so this video is probably like about exactly what he believes. Also, his channel has actually gotten worse. Like, at least back then, he would like have some variety. Nowadays, it's just news about Trump. Like, you fucking might as well be watching CNN or something.
I don't know what it means to be in anything. There are plenty of elements of Marxist theory.
Okay, so he gets asked if he's a Marxist, and he says he doesn't know what it means to be anything. And he says that he likes some elements of Marxism. That's what I meant. That proves what I said earlier about him being a fucking mishmash. And that's why I was a mishmash. It's because I was following this fucking guy that has an incoherent mindset, an incoherent fucking political ideology.
I think are highly agreeable, and there are things that he said that I disagree with. I imagine that's the case with basically any like theorist's works, you know. Certainly I have a.
Marxists don't really disagree with Marx on much of anything. Like the only thing I can think of is like the time he said that America and such might be able to have communism without like a violent revolution. That's like the only thing they disagree with him on. And that's, I don't even know if Marx might have changed his mind on that as well. Like, I don't even know. Because that was probably like quite a long, like, that might have been a while before Marx died.
Stronger connection to Marx's theories than I do almost any other theorist, you know, in terms of my affinity. Yeah, I'm a centrist between Marxists and anarchists, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Marx thought that class conflict was a feature of the world. I don't think, like, that wasn't just a feature of capitalism, and he didn't fight against inequality. In fact, Marx's issue wasn't with inequality. Marx's issue was with tyranny. Marx believed that capitalism, by being like a fundamentally autocratic economic system, denied people the freedom to express themselves and live like, you know, authentic lives. Essentially, it restricted their ability to do what they will. He believed that inequality was often a product of this unfreedom, but if the freedom was restored, there would still be inequality. It would just be inequality within a better framework. People often talk about Marx wanting like total equality or even equality at all.
He kind of does. Like, that's kind, like, he kind of does. Like, it's hard for me to explain. Like, the fact that there would be a planned economy and such, like, that kind of is total equality, sort of. Like, people would do different types of labor and such, and I guess, like, they would be treated differently, and, like, there could be, like, people could be rewarded for doing, like, different things, but mostly, like, it is about equality, just not in the way that liberals think it is.
Not true. Marx did not write in favor of equality as a virtue in and of itself. He thought that
So, yeah, that's kind of true, I guess. I haven't really read much Marx, but I'm, like, familiar.
equality was a product, a downstream product, an emergent characteristic of greater freedom, and that was what he fought for. I think it's a critical distinction. And I think it sells Marxism a little bit better to understand it not as a fight for equality, but as a fight for freedom, because freedom is something that theoretically everyone should be able to buy, especially Americans.
I would say communism is more so just a fight for the self-interest of the working class is how I would describe it. Not how I would define it, but, like, within this context. That's what it is. It's just the ideology of the working class and rulership from, like, a working class party rather than capitalist order.
Whereas, like a lot, especially conservatives, like to them, equality, they think it's a dog whistle for like giving black people guns and letting them like steal armchairs from
I partially agree with what Vaush is saying. I guess I don't really have to talk about this section that much.
white suburbs or something. I don't know, whatever the fuck they believe. Marx explicitly wrote that egalitarianism is a bourgeois category. Yeah, well, he believed that egalitarianism in and of itself was essentially a way of obfuscating the nature of class.
I'm gonna fast forward.
How do I put this exactly? He felt that egalitarian, as we use the product.
I don't really care about like philosophical stuff, like, oh, what is freedom? What is equality? What is egalitarianism? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, communism is the working class exists on their own independently of the capitalist class, and the capitalists don't exist, and remnants of capitalism are abolished. That's what communism is for. It doesn't matter what the philosophy, like what the like vague philosophical terms are. It's just like you either support the thing because you prefer it or you don't. Like, philosophy just gets in the way of that, which I guess is why Marx titled one of his responses. He titled his book The Poverty of Philosophy, which I guess that's why.
So that's
philosophy is just kind of a bunch of fucking rambling.
System to try to patch things up a little bit so people feel equal, and that was the issue he had with it. He felt like it was, he felt like it was a band-aid for a real problem, a way of covering it up. And by the way, that's essentially a proto-example of what we call like liberal progressivism. People on the liberal left, like centrist or slightly left-leaning Democrats, who are okay with equality as a concept, but it's always like, giving government loans. Marx thought that the specialization of labor was dehumanizing because in our species being, as humans were in a hunter-gatherer state, humans like did a lot of things. Like
this is kind of just like, I don't know. Like, I can't really respond to this stuff because he's saying things that are like accurate, but he's not talking about like the what's in the title really that much. He's just talking about things that he agrees about Marxism, but like, these are not the actual goals of Marxism. This is just theoretical stuff. This is just like theory before, like, this is just analysis of capitalism. That's kind of the issue with Vaush. Like, he pretends that he's like supportive of Marx, but the only thing he likes about Marx is his analysis. Like, just the analysis, not really like the prescriptions.
Modern worker might be incredibly good at one very specific physical or social task and otherwise have very little training in anything. Whereas like a pre-modern human would have had to have be doing our economy for, if not human happiness. I don't know what else we do see a kind of underdeveloped version of this in volunteer economies. There are people who work like regular service jobs, but are also essential to the local community because
I
work. Like a toy or like that they have to do to survive in like a wild sense, right? Nothing from too. I think that the average human, if given the opportunity, assuming you're physically healthy,
This is all reliant on planned economics, but Vaush rejects planned economics. He rejects the idea of having like a communist party that plans the economy. So how are you supposed to decommodify everything? Like this is all just like a smokescreen. This is all just like an excuse to vote for liberals. That's all it is. It's just, oh, you want to decommodify things because you're a socialist? Well, actually, let's just decommodify things like certain things as liberals. Like it's not universal decommodification. He's effectively just arguing for like decommodifying like housing and stuff. That's not communism.
enough to not feel pain while doing so, would
That's why people call him a fake communist. It's because he just does not go through with the principles of communism. He'll say a bunch of things that are a part of Marxist analysis of capitalism, but that's it.
really like the experience of getting out there with a group of well-trained volunteers and helping build a house, you know? Now, obviously, there's a lot of like really technical stuff that goes into
And he's talking about
the
volunteers.
house building. So I'm not saying you should just be slapping pipes together or whatever. But if it was like, yeah, like this land is going to be like cleared, like do some tilling, like with a group of like 8 or 9 people who are kind of cool, you know, and it's just like, yeah, you spend like 3 or 4 hours in the sun just chilling.
This is just like weird anarchist nonsense. Like, does he want to be a fucking anarchist, or does he want to be a fucking Marxist, or does he want to be a liberal, or does he want to be a democratic socialist, or fucking, like, what is his ideology? I don't fucking get it. His ideology is nothing. His ideology is grifting by being a fucking live streamer that confuses people. And that's not just me guessing. Like, the dude confused the fuck out of me. At first, when I was first learning about socialism in 2019, when I didn't really look it up that much, and I just like got everything from Vaush, I thought socialism was just like worker co-ops or whatever. Like, he just confuses the hell out of people.
Just vibing, and afterwards you're like, yeah, that's a big old patch of land that's all flat now. I think people like that, you know? Anyway, just making a point. It should be noted that I believe Marx was actually quite sympathetic to the bourgeois, you know? After all, the bourgeois is as confined to their role as the worker is to theirs. The role of the bourgeois might be larger, more free.
Well, the issue with this is, like, I don't think Marx is really going to be, like, sympathetic to, like, the more elite ones. Because, the elite ones would, like, have him killed, but if they had the option, but, yeah.
Free and more powerful than the role of the worker, but it is a role nonetheless. And for a person like Marx who loves freedom, that is...
Also, there is that one quote where he said, blah, 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 we're not going to make excuses for the terror or whatever. Like, you know that quote? Like, the fucking ultra-aggressive quote that he made?
An issue. I believe Marx wrote, well, I don't know if I could say extensively, but he did write specifically on marriages in bourgeois families. See, peasants marry...
And now he's kind of like borderline defending the capitalist class. It's really, this is just a weird, like, rant. Like, he's not...
They would marry to consolidate empires or to, to sort of, facilitate the acquisition of political power. And
he's just appropriating Marxism into liberalism.
And Marx is, I think, pretty sympathetic towards that. He says that he thinks that like the human...
Hey Vaush, what did Marx think that communism would be like? What did Marx advocate for the working class to do?
Humanity is drained of these people, that they're denied the ability to live free lives and to pursue love as they wish because the stifling confines of aristocracy. Yeah, it's very similar to essentially commentary on toxic masculinity. How it's like, okay, you may live as like a member of a privileged class, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with its downsides. You should do something explaining Marx. I haven't read all of Capital. I feel like I know a good few of his arguments, but there are lots of his arguments that I'm not even aware of. Maybe one day. It's a big read. But you said you read all theory. Oh yeah, sorry, never mind, I forgot. I do think that Marx would be disgusted by the world as it is today, the way his name has been dragged through the mud. Not by the far right people, I think, but by the far left.
Not by the far right people. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like I know what he meant, but like, holy shit. Dragged through the mud by who? By fucking Lenin?
Left people. I do believe, you know,
As opposed to Vaush. Like, what do you think Marx would think of Vaush versus Lenin?
how sock dems are cucked these days. I feel like the fact that like Marxism Leninism has become the dominant leftist strain all around the world. I like he would be pretty disgusted by that, I think. He would probably be called a revisionist by the people who claim to like him.
Marx would be called a revisionist on the basis of what? This fucking guy said true Marx hates state capitalists, tankies, and the like. Tankies isn't really an ideology. These people overuse the term tanky. Like, tanky is just supposed to mean like a fucking weirdo that pretends to be a communist. But yeah, Marx hates state capitalists. Like, what do they think communism is? State capitalism? Like, communism is when you have a revolution. Like, okay, how I would define communism is not exactly like a specific point of society. I'd say communism is just, it's a movement that advocates for and like tries to build a powerful force for the working class that takes power in like a revolution, and then they establish a planned economy, and they abolish the capitalist class, and yeah, like they have a planned economy. Like, what do you mean state capitalism? Like, yeah, the government plans the economy. That's what capitalism is. They didn't abolish currency because they could not abolish currency, because that's not how things work. You can't just abolish things immediately just because you feel like it.
If he was around today, the idea that Marx would have approved of the USSR when Marx's principal arguments were in favor of freedom, and the USSR was one of the most sophisticated police states with like secret police.
Secret police? Like, what do you mean? Like, so Marx would be against Lenin having a fucking like militant police force? Like, that's what Vaush thinks?
And like, you know, deportation and execution of hundreds of thousands of political prisoners. Like,
what does that have to do with communism? What does that have to do with Marxism? What? When he said deportation, he meant the Stalin thing. I don't really know much about that, but apparently that's like the worst thing Stalin did. But what does that have to do with Marxism or Marxism-Leninism? Like, what does Stalin fucking deporting people have to do with Marxism as a movement? Like, you can say, oh, like a lot of Marxists are bad or whatever, but like, what the fuck does that have to do with like the Soviet Union in general? Like, that has nothing to do with whether or not they have anything to do with socialism. Like, what? Just because Stalin was kind of a nutcase doesn't really mean that, like, okay, okay, what is your alternative to Marxism then? Because he doesn't have any. All he has is fucking worker co-ops and just like this slow, gradual, like social democracy and fucking liberalism and stuff. Like, there's no clear plan with Vaush. There's just nothing. Like, I have more of a clear plan for socialism than Vaush does, and I don't even fucking know that much. Like, Vaush knows way more about like the Soviet Union and such. He probably knows more about Marxist theory than I do, and yet he's still like just does not fucking go through with communist principles. He's just like stuck in this weird incoherent state.
The idea that he would have applauded that is just ridiculous.
No one is. Who the fuck is what? He's saying that Marx would not applaud Stalin deporting innocent people. Well, yeah, no shit. Socialism for all, like, Hakim himself criticized Stalin for doing this.
Not in a million, billion, trillion years. Yeah. Not ever. Never, ever, never.
So the Soviet Union was bad because Stalin deported people, therefore reject Marxism.
Never, never, ever,
What?
never. Is Lenin good? Lenin is smart, and he was a good writer, though I don't agree with everything that he said. He's also a monster. Basically, there are two Lenins.
I need to learn more about Lenin to really get like a super good idea as to him, but from what I've seen about him, he seems pretty legitness.
Lenin pre-revolution and Lenin post-revolution. Pre-revolution, when he was doing his writing, you know, well, not all of it, but, you know, when he was doing some writing, you know, there's some valuable stuff there. Post-revolution, he was an authoritarian. He immediately...
Authoritarian, like, okay.
Cracked down on worker councils, executed political enemies. Like,
executed political enemy. Like, what does he think? What does he think a revolution is? That's like classic not libertarian. That's like classic liberal stuff where they're like, oh, Lenin was bad because he was like mean to his enemies and he was like violent towards his enemies, like their political enemies. Like Lenin was literally going through a fucking civil war and a revolution at the same time while going through the first socialist revolution in a country full of fucking peasants. Like, what do you think the guy's gonna do? Just sit there like an idiot? Like, yeah, he's gonna deal with political enemies in like a violent way because that's what enemies are. Like, does Vaush not believe in any of this, any of these things? Like, what does Vaush think politics is about?
Instantly, like when Lenin got, you know, when he achieved power, he became like...
He said that he cracked down on workers' councils or something like that. I don't really know what he means. Like, maybe he means like, oh, Lenin did something bad about like a small amount of workers that were like protesting or something. I don't fucking know.
Like, people distinguish between Stalin and Lenin as though Stalin was like the crazy one who took over and ruined everything, but that's not really true. Lenin set everything in motion for what Stalin would later become. And Trotsky was just as bad. Trotsky was insane and a slimy little kiss ass. He would write anything to justify what Lenin did. And I genuinely think that if it weren't for the fact that he and Stalin were competing for power after Lenin's death, I feel like Trotsky would have been he would have been like a yes man for Stalin. Like, Stalin would have gulagged people and Trotsky would have been writing really eloquent, really intelligent theory on how it's necessary. Socialism can only be preserved through, like, the mass execution of political prisoners. The main benefit to...
So Vaush's argument is Marxism is bad and like the entirety of the Soviet Union was bad because they deported people and they killed political enemies. That's it. Like, what does that have to do with Marxists nowadays? What? Like, I don't fucking understand. Like, they're not even talking about ideas at this point. They're just saying, like, oh, Stalin did a bad thing, and, like, Lenin was also, like, violent or something. Like, yeah, no shit, the dude was violent. He was opposing... He was, like, opposing a whole bunch of different forces all at once. He also got shot as well.
Like Stalin having one out there is that Stalin is kind of stupid. Trotsky isn't. He's very, very smart. So I feel like Trotsky's intelligent justifying mechanisms of what Stalin did would have created theory that would last today. Like I feel like I'd be...
Stalin is more of a communist than Vaush is, and I don't even really like care about Stalin that much. At least right now. I saw what Stalin, like a small amount of what Stalin wrote, and he clearly believed in Marxism, whereas Vaush doesn't.
Arguing with Trotskyists today who would have incredibly eloquent justifications for like ripping the toenails off of people suspected of disagreeing with the socialist leader or something. God. And I am glad that Trotsky took the pickaxe because, like, it's not because Stalin was better. I'm glad there was only one of them, you know? I'm just not because Stalin was I'm just glad we didn't have to fucking do with the duo team. Jesus. Fucking, you think Godskin Duo is a dangerous pair. Holy shit. Trotsky was essential for the revolution. Yo, I'm not saying he wasn't an important figure in the revolution. Even when exiled, he wrote stuff justifying Stalin's annexation.
So Vaush doesn't consider himself a Marxist because one time Stalin did something bad and Lenin was, yeah, what the fuck? What's another video? Oh yeah, okay, here's the worst thing Vaush has ever fucking said. At least in regards to socialism. Actually, let's watch this one first. This one is worse, but let's watch this one first.
Your definition of Marxism.
Oh, that encompasses a lot. You know, obviously Marxism is predominantly a set of economic and philosophical theories which deal with the critiques of capitalism. Marx mostly wrote on critiquing capitalism, not so much on constructing socialism, though obviously his critiques came from an economic and moral.
Vaush does not like Marx's construction of socialism, like the ideas relating to that. He just relies on like, oh, Marx is good because analysis or something.
Foundation that informed socialism. The basic gist of it is to, okay, there are a bunch of components here. I don't want to do anyone who's listening dirty. I'll summarize it as this. Basically, understand history and human society as an ongoing conflict between people of different economic classes. And the different needs of those different groups of people are what determines not only the allocation of resources in our society, but the people who fight for them and why they fight. That's one. And two, to understand capitalism in a number of ways, largely along the lines through which it entails the exploitation of the working class. Those are, like, I think, the basic elements of Marxism. The former that I referred to being dialectical materialism, and the second that I referred to being a generalization of his critiques of capitalism.
So he said Marxism is when you critique capitalism. Okay, that's not... Okay, this one is fucking terrible. This one is absolutely awful. Okay, let's look at this. It's someone in his live stream chat asking about like talking about him reading theory or whatever, himself reading theory. Yeah, just the fact that Vaush is just a live streamer is kind of off-putting as well, because like if you're like a communist figure, why would you be a live streamer? And he's like a news type of live streamer. Like, he doesn't talk about communist theory or communism, really. He's just, like, a news guy. So, like, the idea that he's a Marxist just doesn't fucking make any sense. Like, even just from, like, even just by glancing at his YouTube channel, you can tell that he's not a Marxist, because no fucking Marxist has a YouTube channel like that.
Theory, what should I read? What is the bare minimum?
No communist, rather. I guess that would make my point work better.
Minimum. If you're thinking of theory in terms of the bare minimum, don't read any of it. The bare minimum is none, and the bare maximum is none. Don't read any of it. You're already primed to fail. What other ideology requires you to read century-and-a-half-old texts to get involved? And then for what? What knowledge do you possess then as a consequence of that? What good are you doing? Take the time that you could have spent reading that theory and go volunteer at a soup kitchen. There's nothing wrong with reading theory, but the bare minimum, you still got to read the theory. You don't got to do anything. You can do whatever you want. It's not a club. It's not the Skull and Bones Club. We're not doing any Ivy League shit. It's okay. If you want to read the theory, you can. You're not obligated to read it as a prerequisite of attending local city council meetings or your local tenants union. Volunteering does nothing to overturn the system, though, so besides making you feel good for a couple hours, not really. And here you are talking in YouTube chat under a live streamer, something which I can't help but notice is not contributing to overturning the system. Vaush, if I'm reading theory, what should I read?
This is fucking horrible. Holy Christ. Yeah, this is like the worst section of Vaush talking of all time, and it's put into a goddamn short. Legit took the worst thing he ever fucking said, at least in regards to socialism, and put it into a short. Like, this legit makes him look bad. I'll explain why it looks bad without, like, being like, oh, it's just bad. Okay, so I'll take apart every single part of this.
Vaush, if I'm reading theory, what should I read?
One by one.
Read what is the bare minimum. If you're thinking of theory in terms of the bare minimum, don't read any of it. The bare minimum is none, and the bare maximum is none. Don't read any of it. You're already primed to fail. What other ideology requires you to read century-and-a-half-old texts to get involved?
So he says that it's pointless to read theory, and that the bare minimum and bare maximum amount of theory, like it doesn't matter. So he's basically just saying to not get involved in communist discourse, because that's what that is. Theory is communist discourse written by people that actually know what the fuck they're talking about, whereas Vaush doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a live streamer that talks about Trump all fucking day. Socialist theory is about socialists that were in power, or trying to get in power, or just like people talking about socialist intellectualism. Like it's like serious discussion, and Vaush just wants to fucking ignore all of it. Just ignore all of socialist theory. Like, he's acting like the way he makes people think that socialist theory is a bunch of fucking like rambling that doesn't matter, because you could go and get involved in politics instead. Like, the reason this is so bad is because he's saying that you should go do the work instead of learning about Marxism. Like, he's pretending that you can just do communism without having any fucking idea what communist principles are actually about, and like without understanding the discourse of it. Like, he's telling people to ignore all debates regarding like tactics and revolution and like economic theory, like just rejecting all of it, just rejecting just the economics and like the analysis and like the writings that have happened during like political conflicts and stuff. He's just telling people to ignore all of that and just go get involved in fucking organizations, which is liberal nonsense, which a commenter said that as well. Where? Nice try, CIA. Yeah, guys, don't educate yourself, just listen to me. Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. The dude's saying that helping in a soup kitchen is a waste of time. Like, yeah, it fucking is. We're talking about politics. We're talking about politics. We're talking about Marxism. Helping one person doesn't matter, because we're talking about building a socialist movement from the ground up, from literally nothing. Like, that's important. If you're fucking telling people to ignore that and just go, like, cook for people, you're just saying that you should just fucking give up on socialism. We wouldn't fucking have to have people volunteer at soup kitchens if it weren't for people like Vaush fucking perpetuating capitalism. You need to read. It makes it harder for malicious people to lie to you. Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, once I've accepted, like, once I've actually learned what genuine communist principles are like, I just fucking I can't really be lied to. Like, I have a certain kind of skepticism and like understanding on these things. Like, I have enough understanding to know when someone is horrifically fucking wrong. Unless it's like a specific like historical detail I don't know about, but even then I don't really talk about it unless I understand it. Saying to not read theory is genuinely just fucking saying that you should not engage with communist discourse, which Vaush doesn't. Go look at his fucking channel.
And then for what? What knowledge do you possess then as a consequence of that? What good are you doing? Take the time that
What good are you doing? What knowledge is there? Well, I don't fucking know. Knowledge that educated Marxists are giving them?
you could have spent reading that theory, and go volunteer at a soup kitchen.
Go volunteer at a soup kitchen instead of educating yourself and actually getting involved in serious politics.
There's nothing wrong with reading theory, but the bare minimum.
There's nothing wrong with reading theory, he says, to like defend himself from accusations of anti-intellectualism. That's what Vaush is he's an anti-intellectual.
You still got to read the theory. You don't got to do anything. You can do whatever you want.
There's no communist movement in the United States. Therefore, all communists should seriously know what they're talking about. Of course.
Not a club. It's not the Skull and Bones Club. We're not doing any Ivy League shit. It's okay.
Well, we kind of have to.
You want to read the theory, you can. You're not obligated to read it as a prerequisite of attending local city council meetings or your local tenants union.
Liberal bullshit.
Volunteering does nothing to overturn the system, though, so besides making you feel good for a couple hours, not really. And
yeah, because we're talking about fucking politics, Vaush, not goddamn individual actions, which Vaush is obsessed with, because individual actions lead to fucking nothing, because that's not how politics fucking works.
Here you are talking in YouTube chat under a live stream or something which I can't help but notice is not contributing to overturning the system. Vaush, if I'm reading.
So he made fun of him for that and said, like, oh, you're not doing anything. You're commenting on a live stream. Well, Vaush, you're fucking doing a live stream. All he does is, like, put down people who actually, like, are concerned about real, like, communist politics, and Vaush just fucking sits there like, fuck you, tanky. And Vaush acts like he's, like, being pragmatic or something. Like, oh, he's pragmatic because he advocates for voting for Democrats simply because they can win, whereas communists can't win, because Vaush and people like him are saying that you should not vote for communists because they can't win, which is fucking cyclical logic. I've even seen Vaush admit that it's circular logic, but he still fucking does it anyway. Mara, I don't know if this is really... Oh, this is like the weird fucking video. What the fuck? Yeah, like, I don't... Where is the socialism in this fucking guy's YouTube channel? That's all I have to say at the very end. Like, holy fuck.